Monochrome astrophotography offers many advantages over using one-shot color cameras of any kind. You can get richer information because every pixel on the sensor is being used. And because every pixel on a monochrome sensor is always being used, a monochrome camera is much more efficient. For example, working in the range of visual light, a monochrome camera is 4 times more efficient in the red and blue colors than a one-shot color camera. And a monochrome camera is twice as efficient as a one-shot color camera in the green range. And shooting through a luminance filter on a monochrome camera is 300% more efficient than the combined red, green, and blue on a one-shot color camera. And when we start looking at the mathematics behind narrowband shooting, as in using dual, tri, or quad-band filters on a one-shot color camera versus narrowband filters on a monochrome camera, the ratios become even more shocking. Typically, a monochrome color camera using narrowband filters will capture information 2 to 4 times more efficiently, and the ratio becomes significantly worse if you're only using a dual band filter on a one-shot color camera. And if you happen to be using a quad band filter, it becomes a little better, but not much. There are other advantages too. If you really understand how to work with your astrophotography information, capturing discrete components of light, as in red, green, or blue components, or the narrowband components, allows much more flexibility in how they are edited so that you can make the most of the information to produce the absolutely best images possible. In fact, in my opinion, one of the most common issues that I see among astrophotographers is they have not developed their information to the best of its potential. So images come out looking under-integrated when perhaps there is enough information already there. And there are other advantages to shooting monochrome as well. Yet despite the advantages, many persons find themselves put off by monochrome cameras, fearing the complexity. One of the most common concerns persons new to monochrome cameras or considering a monochrome camera mention is worry that they will not get enough information to complete an image during the night. They often worry about what would they do if clouds rolled through while they were shooting their red, green, or blue information, so they end up in the morning missing a color component. And if they're shooting narrowband, the same could be said for that. What if clouds roll through while they were shooting their HA, S2, O3, or whatever other narrowband filters they're using? I live in the backwoods of eastern Canada, and while I have the advantage of extremely dark skies, I often wrestle with cloud cover, and it goes part and parcel with the setting. Some nights I have wonderful clear nights without a cloud in the sky the entire evening, and other nights clouds will blow through now and then. In fact, the latter is more frequent than the former. But you know, I've never woken up to a morning to find myself without sufficient information to complete the color integration of an image. With some proper management and forethought, getting your color information with a monochrome camera can be a non-issue. Let's look at how. Clouds are statistical phenomena, meaning that if clouds are going to blow through, then there is a certain statistical chance that clouds will be blocking your telescope at any given time. For example, if a night will have 20% cloud cover, you can anticipate 20% of your subs to have clouds in them. Another way of looking at this is, if you have an 8-hour night, then 1.6 hours, or 20% of that time, will produce subs with clouds in them. There are 2 ways that you can deal with this scenario, and one is predicated on understanding something crucial. People tend to way overestimate the amount of color that they need to fill out a monochrome image. So, this brings up something important to bear in mind when shooting with monochrome cameras and making sure you're always going to get all the color information that you need. The best monochrome shooting strategy, if you have dark skies, is to shoot LRGB. This strategy is going to allow you to quickly capture sufficient color information using the color filters, and then efficiently capture the light, shadow, and detail information using the luminance filter. And it works because images need a lot less color than people tend to think. Here are examples from my Astro bin. In these examples, the ratio of color to luminance is only 20%. Color is low-frequency information. That's information without fine detail. It just conveys color and brightness. And low-frequency information is quickly caught by the camera, and it can be manipulated easily without degrading the image in photographic editing. So, through a process of experimentation, I learned long ago that I can produce good color in almost all deep sky objects with as little as 20% color information. The only exceptions would be globular clusters, because their color comes directly from their stars. The stars are very bright, meaning their color is washed out, so to bring out that color, you just need really 100% color information. So, recognizing that for most DSOs, I only need 20% color, I first calculate the hours that I'm going to be shooting during the night. If there's 8 hours of good darkness, I'll need 1.6 hours worth of color. which is 20% of 8. And I'll need 1/3 of that to be red, 1/3 of that to be green, and 1/3 of that to be blue. 1.6 hours equals 96 minutes, and if I divide 96 by 3, that comes out to 32. That means I'll need 32 minutes of each color. Your monochrome camera will collect subs even faster if you don't waste time changing filters. So in this case, I would have the camera capture all of its color information at once. In other words, I would have it shoot 32 minutes on the red filter, then change to the green filter and shoot 32 minutes, then change to the blue filter and shoot 32 minutes. On a typical night, I will do this first thing before I start gathering my luminance information. That way, I'm wide awake when it first starts shooting and I can monitor the sky conditions. If, while shooting in one color or another, some clouds roll through, I'll just shoot some additional subs through that color filter to make up for the loss. Let's say there were no clouds at all while I was shooting my 32 minutes of red, then about halfway into my green, a few clouds rolled in and I lost a dozen green subs. I would just set the sequencer to shoot 12 more green subs to compensate. And let's say, while the camera was shooting its blue information, another few clouds rolled through and I lost 6 of my blue images. Same thing. I just reshoot 6 more blue subs when the sky is clear. By shooting my color images first, I can always make sure that when I wake up in the morning, I have sufficient color information. Additionally, you can shoot a little bit into nautical twilight by shooting your red filter first. You see, sunlight scatters mostly in the blue range and secondarily in the green range. The red range has the least amount of scatter, which is to say information captured through a red filter is least likely to show any illumination from the sun. It's not impervious, it's not going to shield you from sunlight, but if the sunlight is mostly gone, you can start shooting a little before astronomical twilight if you shoot through the red filter. So I always begin shooting with my red filter, and that allows me to start shooting about 30% before astronomical dark. So if it's the middle of summer and nautical twilight lasts an hour, by shooting in the red filter, I can start shooting 40 minutes into nautical twilight, just 20 minutes before astronomical dark comes. And since in my latitude summer nights are so short, that extra 20 minutes really helps a lot. So that's it. Using this simple strategy, I am always certain to get the color information that I need by morning. Because in shooting all of my color information first, I can monitor the skies and set the sequencer to shoot additional subs of one color or another, should I need to make up for some that have been lost to cloud cover. And using this simple method, I have always gotten 100% of the color information that I need. Once the color information is gathered, you can then switch over to your luminance filter and let the camera shoot for the rest of the night. The camera will shoot subs faster because it doesn't have to change filters through the night. And you don't have to worry about lost or mixed up information if you lose some luminance subs to cloud cover, because they're all just luminance subs, and just discard the ones with clouds and keep the rest. If you are living in an area of light pollution where you have to use narrowband filters, or perhaps for some reason you just prefer to use narrowband filters, then your best strategy is to switch filters frequently through the night. You'll lose some shooting time in whatever time is used by the filter wheel changing filters and readjusting focus. But by frequently changing your filters, you're scattering your exposure time, playing the odds to randomize which filters will receive exposure, during whichever moments will receive cloud cover. For example, let's say that you're shooting in HA, S2, and O3, a common narrowband combination. You have 3 filters. You might change them every 20 minutes, meaning roughly every hour you will sequence 3 filter changes. I say roughly because other things will also eat up shooting time through the night, such as dithering, or perhaps the occasional need for your shooting application to recenter the telescope if it's drifted after a period of prolonged cloud cover. Even the moments needed to offload a subframe from the camera to the computer memory will eat a little time through the night. But let's say for the sake of illustration, you can expose 3 filters per hour and it's a perfect hour. This means that in the course of an 8-hour night, you will accomplish 24 filter changes. On a night with, say, 20% cloud cover throughout the entire night, there is a 20% chance that each of those 24 filter change exposure times will be exposed to clouds. And that's about 5 of your 24 filter change sequences, meaning you should get 19 good filter change sequences through the night. Or, let's calculate it by the individual subframes. Let's say that when shooting narrowband, you shoot 300 second or 5 minutes exposure times. That's way more than I would ever personally use, but let's just say that for the sake of simplicity here. This means that every hour you get 12 subframe exposures, 4 in your HA, 4 in your S2, and 4 in your O3. And over the course of an 8-hour night, 32 in HA, S2, and O3. Statistically speaking, you should lose a total of between 19 and 20 subframes, technically 19.2, on a night of 20% cloud cover, or 6.4, somewhere between 6 and 7 subs of each of the HA, S2, and O3 ranges. You can also increase your statistical chance of success by using as short as possible subframe exposure times. Because let's say you shoot a 300-second or 5-minute subframe exposure and a little wisp of cloud happens to drift through it for perhaps 30 seconds. That subframe could be ruined. Your stacker may simply not consider it good enough to add into the stack. On the other hand, if you shot 3 100-second subs and a wisp of cloud happened to drift through for 30 seconds, you're only going to lose one of those subs. And 200 seconds of that 300-second increment will provide good information. So if you're going to shoot a strategy where you need to shoot all 3 color bands, red, green, and blue, even if it's by way of narrowband, HA, S2, and O3 as an example, all through the night, and you're dealing with random clouds blowing through during the night, then your best way to make sure that you get a roughly even distribution of color information all through the night is to change filters more frequently and use subframe exposure times as short as you feel you can get away with. If you're uncomfortable with short subframe exposure times, please take a look at the series of videos that I did on the advantages of short subframe exposure times. I know there's a lot of persons out there pushing the idea that no, you need to shoot longer, it's always better. And I've always pushed against that because there are tremendous disadvantages to shooting longer subframe exposure times, among which is rendering subs more subject to the effects of the atmosphere, which includes cloud cover. So to recap, if you're aiming to shoot color information, then your best strategy is to use LRGB. You don't need all that much color information to fill out the color of an image, and you can capture that color information early on when you can monitor the process through the night, thereby making sure that you get sufficient color information. And while people have different feelings about how much color information that they should capture, for myself, I aim to capture 20% color information, unless I'm shooting globular clusters, in which case I shoot only RGB all through the night. Otherwise, you can capture 20% color information at the beginning of the night when you can monitor the imaging process, and then switch to your luminance filter and let that operate on its own all through the rest of the night. This will also let you capture a few more subs because your system won't be wasting time changing filters and readjusting its focus. But if you need to shoot using a strategy that will not make use of a luminance filter, such as pure RGB or narrowband, if you're expecting any cloud cover through the night, then the best way to maximize your odds of catching all the color information that you need is to change filters fairly frequently during the night. My personal strategy on that is to change filters every 20 minutes. I should note here the additional caveat though, that if no cloud cover is expected through the night, or it's absolutely minimal, maybe 5 or 6%, then it's more advantageous time-wise to shoot all the information that you'll need on one filter before moving on to the next. That way, you'll lose less potential integration time to filter changes and focusing adjustments. Now, there's another thing that affects color that doesn't get talked about all that much, the way our atmosphere scatters colors of light. Our atmosphere is best at scattering blue, which is why during the day our sky is blue. So, the best time to shoot your blue filter is during the darkest time of the night. So actually, if I was shooting a target which required pure or 100% red, green, and blue information, and once again, the only target I can think of that would benefit from that would be a globular cluster, then the order by which I would shoot would actually be red, blue, green. Shooting in the red filter allows me to start shooting about 30% before astronomical dusk. Then I can shoot blue through the pitch black part of the night. And then I can shoot through my green filter through the remainder of the astronomical dark. And I'll continue shooting in the green range 30% into nautical dawn. And this works because if I've tracked a target all through the night, that target is somewhere in the west by morning, whereas the sun is beginning to show its first peeps of light in the east, not really affecting that westerly target. These simple strategies have always worked for me, and I've never once woken up to find myself without sufficient color information. But let's say some weird worst-case scenario happens. There's only supposed to be, say, 5% cloud cover through the night. It's an ideal night, very clear. And I set my camera to shoot red, then blue, then green all through the night because I just happened to be shooting a globular cluster. But by some fluke, a couple hours before dawn, an unpredicted thicket of clouds comes through and covers the sky through the last third of the night, so I don't get any green information. What then? Well, it's an easy dilemma to deal with. The next reasonably good night, I'll shoot that remaining information. So let's say it's going to hit astronomical dark at 10 p.m. and have 8 hours of darkness to look forward to. The first 2 hours will be on the last target, capturing that green information again. So one way or the other, I'm always going to be able to get that information. Now you might be thinking, yeah, but you're losing 2 hours on another night to capture information that you could have gotten all at once the night before with a one-shot color camera. And while that is technically true, the reality is that a monochrome camera is so much more efficient at gathering light, it makes such better use of exposure time, that I'm still coming out far ahead by using a monochrome camera. While this is a bit of an oversimplification, it is not far from accurate to say that any given night shooting LRGB with a monochrome camera is worth 3 nights of shooting with an OSC, or one-shot color camera. So if an occasional fluke should require me to shoot a little more color on another night, it's no big deal, because really by the time such a fluke happens, I'm already so much further ahead because of shooting with a monochrome camera. And given that a circumstance like that really is much more the exception than the rule, it just is always much more beneficial to shoot with monochrome. Some persons have said it's too complicated developing imagery from monochrome cameras. I used to worry about that myself, but with a little practice discovered it's not really complicated. In fact, in many ways it's simpler because you have more control over the information. You just have to get used to a somewhat different workflow. And if you're curious, I've described developing monochrome information at length in previous videos. Check out my development playlist. I do need to update it. I made that about a year ago, and my workflow evolves as software evolves, so it's somewhat changed now, but 98% of it is still accurate. One of these days I'll get around to updating it, I promise. Alright, that's about it for today. If you have any thoughts, observations, or questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below. We are looking forward to clear skies tonight, and I'm hoping to get some more integration on my current target, MOF 4. I hope you're having clear skies as well. Now, whatever else you do, learn something about astronomy, have a blast doing astrophotography, and always make time to get out there and shoot the sky.
Greetings, Earthlings!